Welcome to episode 49. We continue talking about the second section of Siu Nim Tau form, and in particular, the Soh Sau actions. Last time I talked about the simple idea of breaking out of a potential arm bar or arm lock. What happens if your opponent actually manages to get the arm lock on? Well, the same logic, the same science, the same approach can get you out of that as well. If I invite John to come in straight away, he hasn't just got me into this kind of an arm lock, he's managed to get it all the way around the back, and he's potentially going to twist my arm out of the socket. If I try to step away from that, I'll just make it very bad for myself and I'll get a lot of damage. But again, if I analyze in my mind what's going on, John is literally trying to send my arm up in that direction. So why not let it go in that direction? Step inside his stance, and now I can get him out. So rather than fighting and wrestling with him, the number one trick here is that I go into his balance, because that makes his arms follow my arm. He's holding on again. He's trapped by his own weapon. So he's caught, and I can get my hands out, and I've got my center line back again. Even if he manages to push me down and get me in the most awkward position possible, where you'd think I'd be in trouble, all I got to do is the same action, and I can get out of it and start hitting. So those two applications, both the breaking the initial arm lock and the full lock behind, your answer is there in these two actions. It's just missing the steps and the extension of the idea. But the whole idea is to just borrow from the other person. That leads us on to the second action, which is to raise the elbows upwards until my hands come to about hip level. I can feel the hip bones, and then I come around to the back, and at that point, if I turn to face the opposite way, I would be striking backwards with this part of my palm. In reality, it's probably not going to be so much a hit as a grab in the vital area of your enemy. But why do we start it with coming into the body? Well, that's because when someone puts you in a bear hug from behind, if you're very unlucky, they're going to catch you with your arms close to your body and you can't get out. There's no way, if you're smaller than your opponent, that you can break out by going sideways. But just a little action with your elbow coming up, and all of a sudden John's feeling uncomfortable because there's a hand there. It wouldn't matter which side I do it, as long as I come up a little bit, he has to make a bit of room. And this is where I can then continue and do what I need to do to get out. Now again, the real secret to this is when he puts the bear hug on, I don't try to run away, because then he could trip me up and throw me on my face, which is exactly what he wants to do. What I've got to do is put a threat to his balance. So I'm actually going to move towards him. Most people, when your hand starts floating around near their groin area, they're not going to stay there, they're going to move away. That gives me room to use my elbows or my hands again to continue striking until I can turn and face. But in the form, it's both hands at once. In real life, I don't want to do both hands at once, because John can easily turn that grab into something much more lethal. He can turn it into a choking action. And once he starts to choke me, then I'm in real trouble. So the answer is, in the form, we're doing both sides evenly to learn to use the elbows. But in reality, I'll probably only need to do one, and the other hand will just sit on top of his hands. Because now, even if I just put a thumb there and invite John to try and lift his hands up, try really hard, my thumb is enough to stop him getting up. So if this was a real life situation, I would be covering with one and moving until I break his position, and then I would follow up. So the first part is the crucial part, to create a way in, and then I can start manipulating. It can extend even to a throwing action, but we can discuss that another time. So that's the first two parts of the Soh Sau action. We'll look at the third one at the end in the next episode. See you then.